Action. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Show that all trustees are present. And the agenda is in front of us. Does anyone have changes, corrections to the agenda?
I have something to do before we move on to the agenda, just a
The agenda?
little something.
Pre-agenda.
So this is Ted's last meeting to preside over. And I just wanted to share a little appreciation for the work that you've done, the leadership you've provided.
Well, thank you.
The one, you gotta open it. You
Oh.
can't. You can't.
Not that easy.
You can't just pick it up.
That easy,
All
sorry,
right.
Doug.
I will open it. Thank you.
So we thank you very much, sir. We hope this is to your taste. I hear,
Oh, love
yeah,
those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
Oh.
I heard you at the Sal's meeting about what you like to read, so I'm hoping that
That hits.
hits the mark, right? And we have one more here.
This.
There you go. Congratulations.
And there's an interesting.
You have to open that too.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you
I
do.
will do that. Oh, all right. You see. Years with Bob Keisha.
Huh.
He was Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo.
Says so right here.
I thought, oh, there you go. Okay, all right. A lifetime library card? Wow. Oh, gee.
You have to, you have to,
Some
reveal.
folks just have to understand that for some 20 years in our family, we've had this spatula. And it came apart, or came to be at the first time when my daughter was working with me, renovating the home that we were gonna move into up here at the lake. And I was making breakfast one morning and said, this thing, throw it up. I threw it up. I found it in my bed the next day. So every now and then, whoever has the spatula returns it in some way, shape, or form. It's been everywhere.
that's a great,
And one of the best one was probably when it was given to me by my cardiologist after he did the heart transplant. He said, I don't want you flipping any burger. So, I don't know who you worked with on this, but.
well, you can say into the camera, thank you to,
Big daughters.
mhm,
And
daughters
to Heather
and to Reed.
and Reed. Thank you very much. Well, thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you all. I really
Great.
appreciate it. So,
Thank you
okay.
for your service here.
And now I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Anybody have any, second?
I'll second that.
Any changes, corrections to the agenda? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The regular meeting minutes from the last meeting was May 20th. Everyone received these minutes and they're also posted on the website. Any changes or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I accept the motion to approve those.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Done. Okay, President's report, that's me. Here you are, Maggie.
Thank you.
The first thing is a really spectacular and happy report of that is that it appears that the Board of Regents at their 6/10 regular meeting approved us for an absolute chart.
Yeah,
And we should be receiving that official notification by mail any day now. My kudos, particularly to the staff who provided the bulk of the data required by that petition process. Well done, well done.
Mm.
And we've got it, so we're good to go.
yes.
Okay. We've got an item on the agenda and I will talk to it, but the special annual meeting, I had an email back and forth with Robert last minute call before I got here, and I'll have all those details under new business. And finally, it's my farewell. And so as you are all aware, this will be my last meeting as my tenure on the board ends at the end of this month. It's been a privilege to serve the community, to work with this board and the staff, and to return our library to a fully functioning asset for all. I especially want to thank Maggie Hartley and our former trustee, Reed Gardner, who stepped up last fiscal year during the difficult time of hiring a new manager and reopening the library. And a thank you to all of you trustees here now and staff during this fiscal year for your diligent participation and the support you gave me as we continue to move forward. Farewell. And I hope in the coming years that you all fare well.
Thanks, Ed.
VP Finance,
Okay, I guess that's me.
that be you. That be you.
Now to bring us down.
This month's bills for $5,381.53. I did not post a $500 check for David Angle yet. I don't know if we've got a W-9 or his insurance.
Yes, I do.
You do, okay.
Yes.
So I'll be posting that check prior to our next meeting, which is, the event is on July 12th. So you'll see that on next month's, but I will have to write a check before next month's meeting.
Sure.
For $500 in that.
Okay.
I did have to move $20,000 before the meeting, which is posted on your chart here.
Yep.
On 6/13/25 to pay all these bills. We didn't have enough in the account, so that's, I guess, where we stand right now. Thank you.
Okay, when, that bottom line, 289, 210, that's everything.
289, yep,
Yep.
289,210.
Okay.
Yep.
And with this 5,381, will that be the end of fiscal year 25, or do we still have some charges that will go against this fiscal year?
We'll have the JP Morgan Chase card, but I don't think that's gonna be much, because I have really kind of held off on purchasing much of
All right,
anything,
so minimal amount.
minimal.
And anything you know of, Colin? or-
Not that I know.
So
No.
that's pretty good. So when we get the final report from Tammy, it'll be pretty much including this plus those few things you're discussing.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any further questions about this report? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept that report.
I'll make the motion to accept it.
Colin,
I'll second.
Financial.
second. Janice, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good. Secretary,
I don't have too much. I've been looking into, volunteers, other library volunteer programs and some training programs that are available, for volunteers, and Marion has been doing the same, so we've been sharing some information about that. And that's really, Marion and I will talk more about it. But
I don't think we need to approve that.
no people necessary.
Very good. Okay, manager.
Okay,
Bunch of stuff.
a bunch of stuff, yes. Just some news, and updates, something that, the staff and I are super excited about. As you know, with Colin's help and orchestrating getting the contractor and then doing some of the work himself, we finished the young adult room, and that was in January, I believe. And since then, our team patronage has increased roughly 80%. So we're super, super excited about that we're getting the young people of the community into the library. And then since our fiscal year is wrapping up, I wanted to just formally announce we had some donations over the year. Thank you notes have been sent. We had in September of last year, the Fourth Lake community donated $200. Ann Green, a retired teacher from the school, donated $200 specifically for teen programming. And more recently, Wendy, let me see if I can say her last name right, Gelnerter, in memory of Barbara, AKA Bobby Seed, sent us a $200 check. I believe Barbara was loved the library, and her daughters are also still local.
Yeah.
And then in June, we received $100 from Dr. Janet Kay. She says she does this every year. She just loves our library. And then this was, I don't know the patron, but he came in and gave us a $20 donation in memory of Kathy Garofalo. And for those of you who don't know, she's the one that painted our beautiful mural in the children's room that we're hoping to continue to preserve over the next coming year. That's why that room has not been painted yet. And then just exciting news that I got this morning is the New York State construction grant application is open. The funds have been approved for New York State. In fact, New York State got $10 million more than they did last fiscal year. So I will be starting work on that in the coming weeks.
Great.
So, and then just under items to discuss, I know last month I brought it up, I attached a letter about changing my annual review for the fourth quarter of the calendar year instead of the fiscal year. I haven't heard anything back. I don't know if there's any discussion for that.
I think the new board will take that up in
Okay.
executive session.
And then Taylor reports that there has been some verbal interest, but we are still looking for hopefully 12 volunteers for our summer reading kickoff on June 28th.
What do they do?
The volunteers?
Yeah, for that.
We have several different stations that will be set up for different crafts going on. It's just, supervision, just to kind of make sure that there's crafts. If you need to run and get glue, it's nothing strenuous. You may have to trace a body because we're doing life-size silhouettes. We have a big roll of paper. So it'll be fun. And then you guys also have a whole bunch of papers in front of you from Hoopla. I have reached out to them. We can reduce our spending. Currently, we do not have a spending cap. We have an item limit of 6 per month per patron. And currently, we have the total for this, including this month, because we just got the bill. We're at like $2,100 for the year, excuse me. And we have 64 unique users. And it works out to be like $2.35 per item that they sign out. There's a circulations by category. You can see it's predominantly audiobooks. And that's a hole that does definitely need to be filled because I haven't purchased any new audiobooks because audiobooks tend to be on CD and cars don't have CD players anymore. A lot of people don't use them. And the player rate that we can purchase are expensive and fragile. So this is a great way to have people be able to get audiobooks. The bottom packet, the report dashboard, it gives you the total of borrows for the year. As you can see, we have of the 64, 54 are new this fiscal year. So we've had quite an increase in usage, and the average borrows per patron is 14 and a half. I know we talked about at our budget meeting about canceling. We can. They need 60 days written notice. You guys have a hard copy of the email I received today.
Mm-hmm.
But we can put a spending cap on it, and she explains it a little bit in the email. We've been emailing back and forth. I don't know if you guys have a number in mind. I know at one point I saw that we were looking at $4,800 for e-content, but what we've spent for this year between Libby and Hoopla is $3,400. So it's a $1,400 below budget for e-content. So
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Josh, when you were saying, like, if something wasn't in the budget, like we've proposed to take hoopla out of the budget, but if we still needed to do it, we could then use the reserves for that, right? And I understand that. Does anybody know if hoopla, since it's a program subscription, is something that can work for?
I think it would really be fluid and whatever you wanted it to work for.
Oh, okay.
So in the budget, which, when we did it, we put $1,500 in for econ and Hoopa and Libby. Was that all Libby or was that?
That was all,
something-
that was
That was
all
all
Libby,
Libby,
because
that's
we
what I
took
thought.
hoopla
Yeah,
out,
took
but
hoopla
we
out.
didn't know
Right, we
exactly
didn't know what we were.
how we were doing that.
Right, but I mean, right now, we're at, you can see we're just over 2,100. But we can say, hey, we don't wanna spend more than $2,000 a year. And then they will break it down per month and then per day.
And it
And
just gets cut off.
it just gets cut off, yes. We can also put a cap on, how, because the different items range from $1.99 to $3.99 each. We could say we only want patrons to be able to take out $1.99 ones. And so when a patron goes in, that's all they'll see. They won't see a title that says unavailable. They just will only see the titles that are available.
Okay.
So,
So is that something you'd want to deal with tonight, or do you want, to give some thought to that and consider that in?
Can we
We could talk
take
about
that
that
out of the
when we
budget?
talk about
The budget.
okay.
So they need the 60-day
They need
notice
60
though,
days.
so not talking about it is,
Yeah,
They're
just
gonna
pushing it
just-
off. Yeah,
right?
better to talk.
Yeah, so, but we can decide it when we talk about, when
So
the
we're
budget
done,
comes
that's
up.
our next old.
Okay, okay.
Coming up.
Right, yeah,
Gotcha.
we'll
Gotcha.
postpone further discussion. So-
Gotcha.
Okay,
Gotcha. And then, you guys should also have, estimates in front of you from, Bad Country Lawn Care. They are the only ones. We put it on our Facebook page. That we're looking for estimates. We do not require bids because it's not over $20,000. They are the only ones that have submitted, an estimate. And if my memory serves me correctly, last year when we did actually go to the expense of doing bids, we had a few others come in, but no one wanted to do snow removal except That Country. I know Josh, you handled a lot of that, so if I'm remembering incorrectly. And then she started talking about flowers and whatnot, and I said, well, that's actually separate. I think that's more landscaping, so we have two separate. And I'm just curious, do we want to just renew their contract? Do we want to prolong this a little longer? Their contract expires the end of July.
that's the groundskeeping center, which is showing $1,800 for those
Yes.
services.
Yeah.
And that's what we had in the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we want to just renew their contract, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion if we can. Just go ahead and go with these same contractors.
Okay.
I'll
Second,
second it.
discussion?
So you're talking about the $1,800.
Yeah.
So
Not the
Right,
additional
right, right.
$1,000.
I realize that the landscaping is an extra thing, but that's something we talked about last year and nothing really came of it. If it's something we need to wait on, we need to wait on it, but they presented it and
did you show them what you wanted?
no, we haven't had a chance to talk about that. I mean, in the last year's bid proposal, yeah, I had it all lined out what I wanted, and I believe I sent that to them. We want flower beds, we want to spruce the lawn up, so it looks nice.
Well, but these things are listed here, the
Yeah,
flower beds.
right, that's actually the bid from last year, but instead of it being a bid, I changed it to estimates per our purchasing policy.
Northland,
That's still bad.
Yeah, but
North,
this is a separate one. This is.
I understand that.
Northern Traders, is that
Yeah.
right? Northern Traders down the
Yeah,
road?
over by Dollar General.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They donated, for some reason, the school didn't want them to donate it this year, but last year they donated all the flowers they needed for their landscaping to the school. And, I'm just throwing that out there as a potential,
No,
they might be willing to
Okay.
help us out.
I'm open to anything. I'm just saying, those are the only ones that responded to my ad.
I mean, they're
So,
not gonna do lawn care, I'm just saying, to
Right,
get flowers.
right, yeah. So,
So I still make the motion that we go ahead with lawn care and snow removal for $1,800.
You've got that one, that's.
yeah, they're present.
Second that motion.
Go with that.
So we wanna hold off on the
I would just
landscaping
wait.
for now.
Yeah. So the motion is to, go ahead with the $1,800 for our groundskeeping services.
Mhm.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that one passes, good.
I'm a little bit nervous about this because we don't really have clarity on exactly what you're looking
What
for.
it is, yeah.
So we're setting ourselves up for unfulfilled expectations if we're not super clear with them on what we're talking about as material to build the beds, what we're talking about. Is it plants or shrubs? I mean, an arborvitae is like $75 right now for a small one. So are we talking arborvitaes? Are we talking like annuals out there? So I think if we could get, maybe they give us $1,000 and I understand they've been very, very good to us, but we should have clarity for our sake and for their sake. So we're not having unfulfilled expectations there.
We'll need some more detail to determine.
Okay, I will discuss it further. And then the rest of the report is just statistics. And you have the beautiful flow chart that Claire prints out for us every month with all the stats.
And that just goes to zero because you haven't finished June yet.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, the full month of June will be reported on at the next board meeting.
Anything in the report in terms of the statistics that you think is notable tomorrow?
Well, I noted it at the beginning that our team patronage is up
Oh, right, 107.
80%. So we're very overall, because I had Claire run the numbers to the 6 months prior to the young adult room being opened and the 6 months since we've opened. And team patronage is up. It's not quite 80%, but pretty close. And we have teams in here just about every day and they just come and hang out. Sometimes they play a game, you know, that's just, it's exciting that we've created a safe place for them.
Great. And every time I come in, I see them in there. Oh. All right, any further questions for Marion on this report? Very good. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. All right, old business is the budget proposal. The entire board met last Friday, hammered out the proposed budget for fiscal 26, which I provided a copy to everybody of what we put together at that meeting. And we were able in that meeting to reduce from about 30, I think 36 or 12,000 used from the reserves to 13,187. Notably, one of the big numbers was we made a decision there not to have a financial audit this year, but to think ahead perhaps in the next couple of years to do that. So that knocked a good 10,500 out of the budget. And so we're down now to this budget, which is in front of the board, showing total revenues of 212,700, total expenses 225,887, with a difference of 13,187. And that was what the final report of last time's budget. I don't think we have the minutes from that yet, but no, that's okay. But we were all there, so we pretty much understand what went on. Any further discussion on this proposed budget for this year?
The hoopla would be changing,
Well,
right?
all right,
For now.
but are we gonna change it now? Or we're gonna leave it?
Well, we can't technically delete it yet because the 60-day, I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding.
No, we're still gonna get charged for 2 more months. Because
Yeah.
we need to give them, we need to give Hoopla 60-day notice.
Written notice, yeah.
So even if we cancel today, we're still gonna be using Hoopla for 2
How
months.
much?
What do you think the monthly?
It averages out to be about $182 a month.
Okay.
The numbers are all right there in front of you. There's a breakdown by month.
But if you called it 400, that number would go up to 1,900. If you look at the budget line down, econ and Hooper Libby, we have 1,500 in there. We're saying we're gonna be incurring 2 more months. I'm gonna just round it to 400. So that would be 1,900 for that number.
Right.
Or do we wanna make that change?
Oh,
You know
or,
what I'm saying? Or-
yeah, or if we don't make the change, but we still keep hoopla until we make a decision, we
fund it.
reserve for
Just
that.
wonderful.
Is that,
Okay, we can do that.
Also, I think that the Libby number was actually lower than 1,500.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
it
just
was
under
not
13 for the, yeah, we paid that, I think, was January, February, January, something like that. So we'll have that incurring again in the beginning of the next calendar year.
Right, so maybe that 1,500 covers both.
Possibility, depending on, I don't know. how much-
Usages exactly.
I won't know what the Libby fee will be. I don't anticipate it fluctuating much.
Is
because-
Libby a flat fee or is that also per usage?
No, it's a flat fee.
So better,
Hoopla is per usage,
better
but
just
again,
leave that.
we can keep it, we can reduce it.
Mhm.
And that was what I had in my, in my report was, do we want to remove it or do we want to consider reducing it
For Hoopla?
for Hoopla? Because we can set a spending cap.
Right. I think right now our decision is to stick with what we
On the budget.
decided on the budget, which is
And
to get rid of it
Right.
for now.
Okay.
And, but we will still have to pay for the 2 months because we have to give you notice.
Okay, so you'd like me to notify them in writing tomorrow that we wish to
That's
cancel.
what we decided in the budget.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the budget stays as it is. We're not gonna change that. So we're down to the, it is in front of
Mhm.
it. All right, any further discussion on this?
I just have one more question.
Sure, by all means.
Is, maybe this is separate from the budget. We're approving the budget the way it is. Hoopla's moving to a different pocket of discussion, possibly in the reserves. Is she writing the letter to cancel it tomorrow, though? And then we're figuring out if we're going to add it back in with a
That's my
reduced
understanding.
That's what I.
spending?
Yes,
Okay,
Anybody have a different?
based on. the-
Different-
I think it'd be just a lot less confusion if we just said, look, we're gonna give you $1,000 and that's it. For the year.
For who?
For
So
Hoopla.
keep Hoopla with a cap.
Cap it at $1,000 and that's it.
are we putting it
We're
back
putting
in
this
this budget,
$1,000
though?
back.
or
No,
just
not
reserve?
necessarily, but I'm just trying to avoid her having to write a Dear John letter and go with $1,000. What did you say we paid last year, Mary?
With June, it's just over 21.
Yeah, so
2182. So it would basically cut it in half. And my contact through Hoopla, she told me if I gave her a spending limit that we were comfortable with, and I asked her if she could cut it in half. I have not heard back from her. I'm hoping that will happen first thing in the morning,
So you're proposing
but
that.
there is a cap.
If we just-
Do the 1,000, we can make this correction to the budget. I mean, we don't, this isn't.
Well, I mean, okay, then
No, we
just
can add that 1,000.
put $1,000 in there and that takes care of it.
Are you gonna fund that through the budget or are you gonna fund that through the reserves?
Well, if you put the 1,000 in, it'll increase the difference by 1,000. Or you can just leave it and say, we're gonna move reserves over. You know, I think it's the same thing, really. You're gonna use reserves.
Either way,
Because we don't have any more money to pay for that, other than what we take from reserve. So this number at the bottom of 13,197 will go up 1,000. If we put Hoopla in at another 1,000, make this line 2,500. I guess that's the way I'm seeing it. But if you don't see it that way, you see a different way to.
I don't like a non-balanced budget anyway,
Yeah, I
so
know you don't.
it's not gonna make a difference to me whether it's 14 or 13.
So I think if we put it in there, it'll be clearer in terms of the fact that that's where it's going. For Hoopla
So the
plus-
e-content line is going from 1,500 to
To
2,500. Where's the
Correct.
e-con?
That's
It's
gonna
on the
take care of
second
both.
page,
Almost all the way down. All right,
and then the
you go to 14.
revenue
No, it's going to 2,500.
is going to
14,187.
14,187.
It goes up 1,000.
Okay,
So this is 25. All right. All right. Any other suggestions for changes, whatever?
So we've talked a lot about balanced budget. I appreciate the effort everyone put in that meeting to listen to thoughts and comments and to reduce things from, I don't remember, I think we were at 36. Now we're
36, yeah.
right around 14.12, 14.2, something like that. Can we create a plan to balance the budget by? You know, we do a lot of talking about how the funds are not going to last if we just keep having these unbalanced budgets, those kinds of things. But what would make this more responsible is if we had a plan of when we were going to have the budget balanced by, and this is what we're going to do to make it happen.
Sure. I don't think we
I
can
mean, yeah.
necessarily create that plan right
Yeah.
now, but
I mean, I think that's our goal, so. for-
Yeah.
it's.
But I
comprised of-
think, so here's the issue though, is that we have that as a goal, but
Yes.
we don't put any legs to it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
We're consistently here, we're gonna find ourselves here next year too.
so
Well, I
think-
when, 6 months out, we could have like, what you're asking, I think, is a deadline. So 6 months out, we're gonna look at a budget instead of waiting to the final year and then look
I
to
don't
see
think that's a
where
bad idea. I don't think that's a bad idea, but, and so you could do that. But what I'm saying is, we are going to establish that budget will be balanced by this year, and we are committing to it, and we have a plan that's gonna lead to that.
So,
Because revenue can get increased 2%, that's a $3,800 increase. We have a $14,000 deficit.
Yeah.
We need $10,000. Yeah, and my suggestion is that it's a serious approach to fundraising for that 10,000 for this coming fiscal year. And I had someone come to me and say, we could run a dinner or a breakfast or whatever it was and raise 10,000 at a crack. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's certainly possible. There's a number of things out there that could be done from a fundraising standpoint. We don't really have any formal committee to move towards fundraising.
so with all of that on the table, can we just say in 6? I don't know what's different between what I'm saying and what you're saying exactly, except that I don't know that I have a crystal ball to say in 6 months we're gonna be here, but in 6 months, we can come back to the table and say, here's our efforts, raising revenue, making sure we're watching spending, where are we? So that by the end of the year, when we're putting the budget together, we're looking toward accomplishing that.
I think it is illogical to think that we're gonna have a balanced budget next year. If we continue on this trajectory, it will not happen. We cannot budget based on fundraising. You have to budget based on stable numbers. And so my suggestion is that by 2028, we're committing, we are going to have a balanced budget. And here's our plan of how we're going to achieve that. That would include, obviously, if people thought that it was necessary to do a revenue increase, that would include putting that forward to the public for a vote. But we would only get $3,800 with that revenue increase. And so we would have to figure out where we were gonna pull $10,000 from.
so
But is that making a promise for people that might not be sitting at this table right now and we don't know?
well,
with
It's making a
information-
pathway for
with
them.
even-
Yeah.
We
It's a
don't know
plan.
the information yet that they need.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
We can say that our plan is to have a balanced budget in 3 years or by 2028. But I don't think we can say right now what our plan is to get there. We need to make a plan. We have a goal, we have a deadline, but I don't think we can develop a plan today.
Why not?
Because I think we need to do some research to figure out different ways that we can do this.
Yeah.
What plan were you thinking? If it's a broad plan that says we'll save money and we'll raise money and we'll look at revenue, if that's the kind of plan you're looking at, yes, I think.
Well, I think
But in terms of a detailed plan, of how we're going to get there in 3 years, I think that will take some research.
For sure. I think ultimately there's two different approaches. The board has one approach that really severely differs from mine. My approach is we get everything within spending limits, and then what we need to use reserves to spend, we can do that. But we want to be sustainable and we want things to be responsible. That's one approach. The other approach is let's keep spending more than we bring in. And then we're just going to try to figure it out on how to get finally our spending to meet what we're bringing in. And one works and one definitively doesn't. And so we need to come to a middle here where we're doing what works for the taxpayers.
So one other thing that I don't really see, obviously, we want this deficit to be much lower, but if you're saying we have a budget that's balanced, and if we need more money, we'll take it out of reserves. I'm not sure how that is different from saying, this is how much we anticipate that we're gonna need to take out of reserves.
Because eventually your reserves are going to be depleted. You need a plan of what you can function with just the income.
Right, but if you're saying that
Responsible budgeting is you only are spending what you're bringing in. And so when you go outside of that, then you're making a plan to spend more than you're bringing in when you can only have a 2% tax increase, revenue increase every year. So you're never going to catch up if we keep on that trajectory.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't see that it's a lot different from saying, if we go over, if we need more money, we'll take that out of reserve.
What
Because
if
the
we
budget
just,
is a plan and a trajectory.
But we've-
That's why.
so hearing what you said, there's been 4 budget meetings and we can vote on this, and you can vote however you want, and we can vote however we want, and we can see where our votes come for this. And in 6 months, which is not even a year, we can take that thought, that plan, that idea and all of ours, and we can come back to the table and we can commit to, in 6 months, we're gonna revisit that. And we're gonna try to figure out how to accomplish those things.
And there needs to be some work in between. I think.
Yeah,
You know, where the
yeah,
board got together at this last
Yeah, but-
budget meeting, there was some serious work done.
There was
To
serious
bring the
work.
budget down
Right,
to where it should be, or where we'd like it to be.
I
And
just,
so that's the same sort of thing. I think they've got to come around the table and do a little brainstorming.
Right.
and
Yeah.
Some serious.
Yep.
Approach to how you want to do this.
yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah, I
I just,
agree. I think this is,
And I think it does make sense to set a goal of when that we want to balance budget by this time, and we need to do the work between ongoing, not just when that time comes,
right.
so that we're constantly working toward that. I just don't think we can come up with a plan today without doing what we need.
Yeah.
Today, but we can start the work today.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think we're all committing to
And I
that.
think
I think we agree.
the budget committee doesn't need to start meeting the
No.
last few months. It needs to be meeting throughout the year.
No, but let's be honest, we had the same conversation last year. And if we just continue in the same format that we have been, we can
Oh,
only
we're-
expect the same result.
We're trying to
And we'll have
make
the
it,
same conversation next
you
year.
know, we're agreeing with you, we're trying to have a different format. What I'm saying is the budget committee, and even if the budget committee is the entire board, needs to meet continually throughout the year to make sure that we're not only on track, but improving. And
There was conversation that came up about how it was a unanimous vote last year. Represented a budget that required us to pull from the reserves because of the fact that we were in an absolutely completely different situation.
Mhm.
We're no longer in that situation. We can't still function like we are.
Mhm.
That was necessary at that moment and required a yes vote from a responsible board, but we cannot continue that way.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. Everybody's agreeing. I think it's the idea that you have to do it incrementally as you move forward. It isn't just, we're gonna, 6 months from now, we're just gonna come up with these great ideas. No, it's gotta be a continual approach to it. I think you're absolutely right. I'm okay. But we still need to have a budget for next year, and this would be it, but it's what's in front of us.
so we're probably looking at two different motions, one about approving this
The
budget.
first step would be,
And then if
is,
you
yes,
wanted to make a motion about a
let's,
plan
let's,
to
let's,
balance the budget.
let's start with
Sounds good.
further discussions on this budget at this point. I mean, we've added, just to be clear, $1,000 to that line on e-content. We're down to 14,187 negative.
Mhm.
That's it for the moment, and that's proposed for fiscal year 26. Further discussion.
I make a motion to approve this budget.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed.
No,
So this budget is it for the coming fiscal year. Now, do you want to move something in terms of the?
Yeah,
move forward?
I'll make a motion that we start the work on balancing the budget by 2028.
I'll second that.
Okay, further discussion on that. I think we have a clear understanding of where we want to go with that.
I think you gotta 2027, because when I did a longevity, we haven't got any money then.
But that's holding the two CDs, right? To make sure we've got.
No, that's bailing into them.
Oh, it is. Okay,
So
But-
I just think that we need to,
fiscal 27.
you know, I agree with what Josh is saying 100%. I mean, obviously, we gotta cut corners where corners can be cut. We're gonna have to be extremely careful. I just don't know, in my mind, how we're gonna create.
This is fiscal year 2026, right, that we're in right now.
Correct.
So you're saying it has to be balanced, next year's budget has to be balanced.
For 27.
Can you say
You're
28?
saying 28, just giving us 2 years.
Yeah, I doubt that we're going to be to that place with raising revenue without the kind of cuts. I mean, there were cuts that people were just not willing to make in the last budget meeting. So without making those, I mean, even if you raise the revenue, that you're still gonna have to have cuts that are opposed to what was said.
Right.
We could not cut.
I need to know if all my vote nay would be because I just want to think about this more. I want to have more of an idea in terms of things that we might be able to do different that we haven't done yet. So I just want a little margin of thinking, planning and research before I would Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like,
I'm just saying, I mean,
if,
If
I
we-
just don't know, I just don't wanna make a
I mean,
promise that
we're
I'm
all-
not sure I'm ready to say I can fully get behind that yet, that's
you
all.
know, I think finally all the board is realizing
Yeah,
Sure.
we got a problem coming down the road,
So
you know? And I just think that 3,800, even if they voted in or voted out, you know, who knows? And it's just, I don't know where you could even fundraise $10,000 anymore. You know, I'm sorry, I've been involved with a lot of fundraisers. I've donated a lot of my time. And it's more difficult than you think.
Okay.
You know,
That-
to
that-
bust your butt for $300, it's not really worth it. You know, if you can bust your butt, make $5,000, okay. All right,
But that plan would also involve looking at the budget in terms. It's not just
Yeah.
revenue. It's
Right,
costs.
and
It would
also,
be several budgets that you would be looking at. You
Right.
would
Yeah.
literally be establishing, you know, limits on several budgets.
But
right, and also the fact, if we're aiming to balance the budget by 2028, my assumption is we would be reducing it next year as well.
Oh,
It won't
yeah.
be in this place. So
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with
Well, it's
Josh's
from there.
motion that we start to work on balancing the budget by 2028.
Is that about you?
yeah, I think so.
Okay. Are you willing to go with that?
Yeah.
What more do you need?
2 years.
2
years.
Okay.
We're in 25 right now.
I know, but we
But
just
we're
passed
talking about
26 budget.
Fiscal, it's not about fiscal. year. All right, so we have a
6 months of this.
motion on the table
On the slow
to
paper.
move forward
Okay.
with a plan, with serious efforts to move forward to explore and develop plans to balance this budget for sure by 2020. Have I got it right?
Mhm.
Okay. And that's been seconded. All right. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi,
Okay. Good.
I
Thank you.
think I am. Yeah, I said that.
The other item I had in here, which I mentioned in the tee-up, was our transition planning. And there was a bit of, I sent you several different emails that came to me from Robert explaining how we were gonna handle the transition in terms of the new officers and what we do. It seems that, and I'll take a minute to kind of get into the details, but it seems that last year, when we did an organizational meeting on the very first day of July, I think it was July 2nd,
Mhm.
and then subsequently had a regular meeting on the third Tuesday. That was really not according to the bylaws. The bylaws say the very first meeting you have in the beginning of a fiscal year is the annual meeting. And that's the time when you elect officers, appoint the treasurer, and move forward with business. And you can do that all at the very same meeting. So I had the conversation with Robert just 15 minutes before I got here. And he said to me the following: the two newly elected trustees, that would be Maggie and Beth, can take the oath of office, which I have copies of and can be filled out very simply based on last year, and go to a notary tomorrow if they want to, sign those oaths of office, and they then would be registered in the county. They will not, even though they've signed the oaths of office now, pledging that they're going to do that, they will not actually take the position until the 1st of July. But on the 1st of July, they will be fully active and functioning members of the board. And so if the board so believes that we only need one meeting to do this, we can have our regular meeting in July, which would be July, I
I
think
think.
it's the 12th. Yeah, it's the third Tuesday, whenever our normal, that's our normal third Tuesday schedule.
Mhm.
And so my concern was
It's
that we
July
had
15th.
15th, okay. My concern was that we had a full board in place, starting the 1st of July. And the fact that those folks have in fact signed those oaths, they then are fully members of the board.
Okay, so you're saying we don't need to have a meeting on July 1st and July
We
15th?
do not.
We can just have a
We
meeting.
have a regular meeting, and that keys in with the way you get the bills and the numbers and things. If we went on the 1st of July,
Yeah,
we wouldn't have any very good information for what we need to look at in
No,
the
not.
for the month of July. So in my way of thinking, that's what we should do, is get you and Beth
Mhm.
to sign those.
Okay.
In front and get them notarized, as we did the other day.
Correct.
We can go right to the town and do that, and then we file them with the county, and you're in. Come 1st of July, you then just assume the board, but at that meeting, the third, whatever today was.
We
third
organize
Tuesday,
our
is then also when you elect officers,
So it'll be our annual meeting and our regular
the
meeting.
annual meeting is the
Yeah.
annual meeting, and then you appoint officers, you appoint the treasurer, and you get on with the regular business. Does that made sense to me? Does anybody have a problem with it?
No,
Or does that sound
no,
like a
but
reasonable
who
approach?
makes the agenda for that meeting if you're no longer president and we haven't elected
You do.
positions?
You-
I, because I'm the vice
So you're,
president.
you would be
Yeah.
acting.
Okay.
According to the
Gotcha.
bylaws, once I step down, you're
Okay.
it.
Yeah, until we.
So we can vote again. Okay?
Yes, yes, got it.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right, is everyone comfortable with that? I don't think we need a motion to do that. I mean, if everybody's comfortable with that.
Yeah.
That's what we'll do. I'll reach out to Beth.
Okay,
I will prepare those two,
the oath forms.
yeah,
Okay,
and I spoke with Robert about it. I know how to do it. And he's fine with that. And then as soon as possible, you and she and I don't think you have to go together. You don't.
No.
Get to the town where there's a notary, or get to a notary that you know, it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
And get that signed. Then the only really important thing is that somebody's got to take the responsibility of making sure those get delivered to Warren County and get registered down there.
okay, I will take that.
Can you do
So
that?
if you're all going to Warren County, then nothing has to happen, but if not, I can take them.
Either way.
Okay.
Okay,
to
but that
Warren
can
County.
happen. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I think we've resolved that, and basically when I sent him the email, trying to understand it all, he came back to me, he said, "You're overcomplicating this." So I said to him, "Well, uncomplicate it for me," and that's what he did, and I think that's pretty much uncomplicated. So that's what we will do. Okay? All right. Any other items for the good of the order before we entertain?
I got it. Couple things
Yes,
that
sir.
are under new business. I need to find out where our septic tank is here in this. And we need to get this pumped out. I mean, summer's coming. To my knowledge, it hasn't been pumped in a couple of years. And we don't need the whole system going down if it backs up.
Do you have somebody to do that?
Not yet. I gotta find where the tank is and then we can get somebody. You said you knew someone.
Well, my husband knows Ivan from IBS.
Okay.
And that's
Well, I don't
actually
care.
his
That's
company.
what I'm saying.
A local guy too, Russ Bowers.
Okay.
Yeah,
And just so you know, I feel that's important to get this done. Next thing, I'm gonna paint out front here, designating handicap parking spots in this driveway. So people aren't coming in and out of here blocking it.
Great, I'm guilty.
In the issue of this lawsuit that's been going on in 2005, that was part of the issue. This individual was parked there and somebody was behind her and she couldn't get out. It was an emergency. She needed to get out. So I just feel all we have is a little sign out here. So you're gonna see some new blue emblems. I'm gonna paint it out on when we get a nice day. And last thing I got is this debit card that we still have. Do we want to keep it or do we want to close it out? So we don't have, because we're now using JP Morgan.
I kind of feel like the jury's still out on JP Morgan and whether.
yeah.
Yeah, I would hold on to it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, just didn't want,
I agree.
Yeah, there's,
Because if it's not cost effective, it's actually gonna be costing us money, not because JP Morgan's charging us money, but because the accountant is, then it might not be worth it.
No, I'm just saying, I just don't like extra stuff.
Yeah,
That's all.
I would hang on to it until we figure out whether we're keeping the.
Okay.
it's also my only access to petty cash. I don't use it very often, but
Yeah,
The debit cards, once you. use them.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I guess it might be more of a question just for you, but the rest of the historical signs, getting them hung. Do we want me to reach out to the Historical Society? I haven't gotten too much feedback from them on that.
Too critical?
Well, I'd like to get them off the floor and
Off
up
the
on the
floor.
wall, so
Sure.
we can use the
Sure.
floor space.
Sure.
You know, but that one sign in the back, Roy Field, that's definitely at least a two-person job. It's not overly heavy, but it's definitely awkward, and I know I don't want to be up on a ladder
No,
lifting it over my
No,
head.
no, no.
If you designate a spot where you think you want it, let me know, and I'll find some time to come up.
We got somebody that can help you.
Yeah, I'll bring somebody out.
Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
Good. Anything else? Okay. Then we will open for public comment. Please come up, state your name, state your comment. More than happy to listen. Nothing? Sure.
Okay.
State your name.
So yeah, Robert Allen. Fundraising. I've got quite a bit of experience putting together fundraising dinners / galas. I'm actually putting one together right now for my own not-for-profit foundation. I don't know how one would go here. Good news is we're a small town. The bad news is we're a small town. However, if you don't do it, you're gonna make nothing. I'd like to give it a shot. And my thought is, I'll go talk to Alan and see what we can put together. He's got plenty of room there. And give it a try, and see what we can come
Who's
up with.
Who's down?
Vested veteran.
Oh,
Vested
okay,
veteran.
okay. Yeah.
He's got a nice big room
Yep.
over there. His food is incredible.
Yep.
I think it would be the best place in the area to do something.
Yeah, and we did determine in discussions with the attorney that there's no reason that a spouse or a member or somebody who's related to someone on the board or the staff
Yeah.
can do this, so that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
I see no reason we shouldn't try it. That's the first step in the plan to raise some money.
I'd love to be able to do it in the summer because Fourth Lake is still here, but I don't know if we can pull it together that quickly.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
So is he a representative, like, what are the stipulations and liabilities around?
We need to talk to Robert about the organizational structure.
Yeah, like, so he goes out and it's his name and he's raising money, but it's for the library, but is he a representative of the library? So do we have to approve that, that kind of
Board's
thing?
gotta make an approval of it, definitely.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's probably steps in there.
I mean, if you need to table it and talk about it, you know.
Yeah, I think probably we would, so
Okay.
that, yeah,
Yeah, I completely understand. I just want to say I'm willing to do it.
yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
we thank you. That's
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, we can, talk for, I just want to thank you, Ted, for your service. I think, you and Marie and Maggie and the rest of the company did, really did a wonderful job in salvaging our library, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
It's, wonderful for the community. I'm really excited about the teams. I was here on Thursday night
Yeah.
last week, and there were teams in the team room and teams doing some stuff on the computer and teams doing things outside, and I just thought it was really great to see everybody here. Thank you.
They're the future. Thank you very much. Go ahead, move on. It says Joan Parsons. She
Sorry.
didn't say her name, but.
Joanne.
Oh, she did say her name.
Oh, I didn't.
She did,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Said it real
Very good.
fast.
Anything else? Anything else for the good of the order? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, folks.
That's it. That's a wrap.
Good luck.
Don't you want to wrap the
Good
gavel?
luck in reviewing. Daughters are watching.
I got an extra one of these. I don't know.